we will get started. All right, so I believe everybody should have gotten the notification yesterday that we rolled out our 203K renovation loans. Previously, Jose, can you monitor the waiting room? Thanks. Previously, we had done 203Ks in-house, and then we were brokering them out for a while. So we rolled it out, but now we're doing the full and the limited. So I'm just going to go through all the different options that we have. So the limited 203K, it's going to be more, you're going to do more with like stoves, refrigerators, maybe some flooring, carpeting, nothing structural at all. It does not require a 203K consultant, but you can use one if the borrower wants to. Normally on a limited 203K, they're not doing anything, big enough in order to use one of those consultants. For your standard 203K, you do have to have a minimum repairs of $5,000. They are going to allow more in-depth repairs. It's also a lot more money that they'll be doing. Most of the full 203Ks that I've done have been $100,000 or more. They do require a consultant, and it does help us with the consultant because anytime the borrower wants to say they're having a problem with their contractor, the consultant is the one who can step in the middle and help smooth things out, or maybe they want to change. I've had it happen before where they've opened up the wall and our original bid shows that they had a certain type of insulation, and then we opened up the walls and they needed a whole different kind, so they had to do what's called a change order. So consultants help in that way so that we as a lender and also our investor doesn't have to get involved in the little things like that. I do want to make one note on a limited 203K. Once you receive your appraisal, if the repairs come in to be much more than what we originally thought, and you do end up having to switch over to a full 203K, you can do that. You just have to make sure that you do the redisclosure of COC within your 3 days, disclosing your consultant fees and all that kind of stuff. And in the same breath, if it turns out that the repairs on a full 203K are not as in depth as they originally thought they were going to be, and it turns out that they could actually fall under the limited 203K, you can also do a COC with that without having to start a whole entire new loan. So I just wanted to make that note. There's a packet, and I'm going to jump on the website here in a second for both Residential Bancorp and Mission Loans. There is a packet that is on the website. It's called the Contractor's Toolkit, and it does have all of these forms in here except the rehab agreement and the loan writer, because those will come with your loan documents. We have gone through to make sure that these documents, like the homeowner contractor agreement, and we do have the calculator in BITE and the borrower's acknowledgement. These are also in our disclosure package, but if you happen to have a borrower who you're working with before you have disclosures and they just want to make sure that they have the right forms, then I can't bring up the website. We do have it located on our websites to under Investor Toolkit in the guidelines section of the loans. Okay. The maximum sorry, do I have a question? Okay. The maximum mortgage amount is going to differ depending on if you're doing a purchase or a refinance. So when you're dealing with the purchase, the maximum mortgage amount is going to be the lesser of the LTV, the LTV limit that you have for your loan. It's going to have the adjusted as is value. And on a purchase, the as is value is your purchase price. And then the appraiser will provide you with the final value, or if they bring your value in at your purchase price, then within their appraisal, they should be telling what's called an after improved value, because we do need that in our loan. So you're going to do the lesser of the as is value plus your financeable repairs, mortgage fees, and contingency reserves, or 100% of the after improved value, which I just talked about, or the nationwide mortgage limit. So even though you're doing a 203K, you still cannot exceed your mortgage limit for your particular county. For the refinance, you're going to do the lesser of the existing debt associated with the mortgage plus your financeable repair costs, fees, and reserves, or the appropriate LTV multiplied by the lesser of the adjusted as is value plus your financeable costs, fees, and reserves, or the 110% after improved value, or the national mortgage limits. Now, in a refinance, you're going to get, the appraiser is going to put within the appraisal what the after improved value is. So if they send it back without it, you're going to want to make sure you ask for that. And it's important to note that when you order your appraisal, you really do want to order these appraisals with the initial contractor bid up front. So the appraiser knows what we're doing for repairs so they can provide you a proper adjusted value. Also, if the appraisal ends up coming back with additional repairs that you need to add into your contractor's bid, you would do that, and then we would go back to the appraiser with the revised bid so that they can match the appraisal up to what we're really doing for our repairs. And if there are any health and safety repairs that require to be done prior to closing, that would not allow the borrower to live in the property while the improvements are being completed. Because on a limited 203K, those repairs, the borrower has to be able to live in the property while the repairs are being completed. The 203K standard, the full 203K, the borrower, obviously they're doing sometimes much bigger repairs, so they do not have to be in the property during the repairs. But if there's any health and safety for either one, you have to have those health and safety done prior to moving in, or I'm sorry, for the limited, they have to be done in order to move into the property. For the full 203K, you can have them included into your bid. And so I just wanted to point that out. On the limited 203K, they're going to be, it's going to be minor remodeling and non-structural repairs. The limit is maxed at $35,000, and that includes all renovation cost, fees, and contingency reserves. So we can't say 35,000 plus our 10% contingency reserve. We cannot do self-help. And then all of the improvements on the existing structures must comply with the HUD's minimum property standards, or meet the building standard codes. So we want to make sure that we're always still following HUD NPRs and moving forward that way. Okay, you cannot, we cannot, or we can change and improve function modernization of a kitchen. We can't like change the actual structure of it. Okay. On the full 203K, or what we call the standard 203K, they can do a lot more. As I mentioned before, a lot of the times the standard 203Ks are $100,000 or more. They can convert a single family residence into a 2, 3, or 4 unit dwelling. We can improve the function and the modernization of bathrooms and such. We can do structural repairs, but we cannot change structural and foundational repairs, but you cannot actually change the foundation. Okay. So I wanted to just show you how to provide the borrower with the list of consultants for the 203K standards, because the borrowers do get to interview and select a consultant. So I gave you a little slide here, and these are going to be posted on our website. This PowerPoint will be posted on the website so that you can refer back to it. But you're basically just going to go to the FHA Connection website. You're going to click on the single family FHA, just like you would if you're ordering a case number, single family origination. But instead of, moving forward, you're going to go onto the FHA approved list. And it's the very first item here is 203K consultants. Once you select that, it will give you an option to put in a consultant ID if you already know the consultant, the name, first and last name of the consultant, but we obviously were looking for a consultant. So I think the best thing to do is to put in your state and then just hit submit, and then it will give you a list. So I put, for my example, I threw in California. It gave me a list of 44 records. Then you could just go through the list and find ones that are in the borrower's area. So they'll have the city of where the consultant is. Okay. For bite input, you're going to input your loan like a regular loan. Once you select your 203K program, which I've given you the program codes here. Then you will also want to make sure that we're selecting the correct fee template. So the fee templates will be called standard 203K and limited 203K. But I do want to point out that currently we're still working on the fee templates. So further in this presentation, I'm going to show you how to properly add the fees that we need to add until the templates are done. And when they're done, we'll let you know. So once we say, hey guys, the templates are done, then you're going to want to make sure that you select these standard fee templates. And what that will do is it's going to bring in the fees that we know that we need for the 203K. And some of the items that we know are pretty much a fixed cost that should never change regardless of what you're doing. Those fees will already be populated in there for you. Okay. You want to make sure that you complete your LE with all of the correct fees, your consultant fee, your draw fee, reinspection fees, etc. And then if you click on page 1 of the LE or the home screen, and then go to your base loan amount, next to the base loan amount, there's going to be a blue underlined calculate button. If you click on that, then the 203K worksheet is going to pop up for you. And at that point, you'll complete the 203K worksheet. That's where it's going to have a drop down to say, is this a limited or standard, HUD REO 100% down or $100 down? Are you doing energy improvement? It's going to give you all those questions, and then you'll fill that out. And the great thing about it is once you've filled out that form and you click OK at the bottom, it will say, hey, your maximum loan amount for this loan is this much. And then you can click OK and it'll populate into Byte for you. The LE is going to show the breakdown of the fees, like the consultant fees, the draw admin fees, or the draw inspection fees, the reinspection fees, permit fees, architectural fees, but it's not going to give you an actual box for the contingency fee or the repair amount. That you're going to place on your 203K worksheet, and then it's going to push it over to line, I think it's line B. Yeah, line B of the renovate on the details of transaction for the improvements, renovations, and repairs. So you'll see that there. Then this is just an example of what the Byte input looks like. So as I was speaking before, you're going to find your base loan amount, click on calculate. This is what the 203K worksheet will look like. Here you'll select standard or limited. Is this a HUD REO? Yes or no. Occupancy type, it's going to be owner occupied. Estimated value, and then property acquired. Yes or no. I think that'll be for your refinances, and then you can put in your repair amounts, and then it's just going to go down the list of fees. So you're essentially going to have to do double input, because unfortunately it doesn't push all those fees that you already put onto the LE into the worksheet, but you do want to make sure the fees are also on the worksheet. And then in order to make sure that you get the contractor information on the homeowner contractor agreement for the disclosures, you want to make sure that you go to your party screen and fill out the contractor information on the contractor line. And then here's an example of where the improvements and renovations will come in. This will be your total repairs, improvements, and renovations. But the only thing from this line that's not going to actually be broken down on your LE as a line item is the actual repair amount and the contingency reserve. And here's an example of how to go in to put the information on your the contractor line. So when you go on the contractor line, it'll open up here. You're going to put in the contractor's information, and then it will populate onto the FHA homeowner contractor agreement for you. So we just put in a little bit of a little comparison between 203K standard and 203K limited. I'm not going to go through every little item, but for instance, for a 203K standard, your minimum repairs is $5,000, where a maximum repairs is $35,000 for your limited. Neither one allow for self-help. They both require 6 months maximum repairs being done. We do allow high balance on both. We can do manual underwrite on both, down to 620 on the credit score. And let's see, there's some more stuff here. You have a difference in what your hard costs are, because the 203K standard is going to have more hard costs, where your limited is going to have a little bit less, since it's really minor conditions that you're going to be improving on the property. The minimum contingency is going to be the same on both, and just make sure you always keep in mind, if the utilities are on, your contingency must be 10% at least. You can always do a 15% just to say, like, for those open up the wall and find something funky in there. But if the utilities are off, you must do a 15%. Okay. At the time of the closeout of escrow, any of the remaining funds will be applied as a principal balance reduction. Any contingency reserve that was paid in cash can be reimbursed to the borrower, but I'll be honest, I've never seen a borrower pay their contingency reserve in cash. But if they happen to, they will. And then let's see. So we can do structural and non-structural repairs on the standard, but on the limited, there's no structural. Luxury items are not eligible on either of them. On both of them, you can swimming pool construction is not allowed, but repairs are. So if there's already an existing pool that needs repairs, it can be repaired up to $1,500. Again, on the tear down and rebuild, as long as the foundation of the existing structure remains intact. In other words, you cannot change that foundation. You can do a tear down and rebuild. On a limited, you cannot. And here's where I talked about before, some health and safety. Mold and lead paint, I'll fix that. Lead paint removal on both is allowed to be included. Obviously, you're going to have to get that mold and lead paint removal fixed on the limited quickly in order for the borrowers to be able to move in within their 60 days. Okay. Consultants required on the standard, and it's not required on unlimited. So your maximum number of contractors on unlimited on the standard is one general. Specialties are allowed if they're needed for technical repairs, but really they want to only see one general contractor. On a limited 203K, they can have up to 3. One of the bigger differences, we can finance it up. Oops, what happened? Sorry, guys. We can finance it up to 6 payments while the house is being renovated on the full 203K, but on the limited you cannot, because again, the limited is minor and they have to move into the property while the repairs are being done. Okay. On both of them, we can disperse a draw up front when we're funding the loan. On the full 203K, we would do the cost of material cost items prepaid by the buyer or the contractor up to 50% of material costs for items that are ordered but not yet paid for. And then now on the full 203K, they get a total of 5 draws. So you can do that small draw at funding, and then they'll request a draw up to 5 times throughout the construction of the loan. They will go through their consultant. The consultant will go out and inspect what items they say were done. And then the consultant will provide to our investor a request for a draw. It'll have a list of what was done. It'll have photos of what was done. And then the investor will send out the check for those items. On the limited 203K, you need to make sure you understand they are not allowed to have more than 2 draws, one at funding and one at final. So they do not get to come in 2 or 3 weeks after funding and say, hey, my contractor ran out of money. They can't finish the job until you give me more money. They have to only get the 2 draws, and they still have the 6 months to complete it. So it's very important when you're talking with your borrowers to make sure when they are interviewing contractors that they understand and the contractors understand that they're not being prepaid for this work. They are fronting the money and getting reimbursed. So then we have the supplemental, the FHA supplemental fee and origination fee of, this one is the fees that we're going to show you the differences. This is what we want to tell you until the 203K fee templates are completed, then these are the fees that I need to make sure you guys are manually inputting onto your LEs, which we should have these done soon. So hopefully we won't have to have too many manually input. But for your standard 203K, make sure you come and reference this, because we want to make sure we do the repair inspection, the supplemental origination fee, the admin fee, the title updates, because the investor is going to do a title update every time they do a draw. Now, on the consultant draw inspection fee, currently we have it at the maximum draw of $1,000. If you're working, well, that's not the maximum draw. This is based off of 5 draws at $200 inspection by the consultant. When you know from the consultant what they're charging, oh goodness, I'm sorry. When you know what from the consultant what they're charging, then you will be able to do a COC if it's more than what we have for the $1,000. I just haven't really seen a consultant charge more than $200 per draw, but some may. On the consultant fee, we are going to have this auto populate at $1,000, which is the maximum consultant fee that can be charged. FHA actually regulates how much the consultant fee can be, and it's based off of the amount of the improvements. So, right now we have it in as if it's $100,000 improvement. If you're doing a smaller renovation and you already know your consultant fee is less, you can put it in less. I would like you to initially disclose with the higher fee until you actually have the consultant write-up that shows the lower fee. So then you can do a COC or you can reduce it and it's not going to hurt the borrower. Another thing to keep in mind, sometimes the consultants want the borrowers to pay a portion of that consultant fee up front. So you're going to want to make sure that if they did, you find out how much they paid so we can, show that portion being POC. Okay. And then for your limited, it's obviously going to be less. You'll have your repair inspections. It's only going to be $200 because you have just the one final. You have your supplemental origination, your title update, and then your admin fee. Now on the supplemental origination, we're putting in the 525, which would be your max. Okay. And that is all that I have. So I can take questions if you'd like.
Yes, there's some questions. If you click on the chat box, Michelle. I can read it to you, or if you want to just read through it.
I'll click in there, yeah.
Some pretty good questions.
Okay, so we have a wrong message. That's right. I don't need to work. Wait, let's go up to the top.
Yeah. Yeah, Ginger. First question.
Okay, so Ginger, you may have asked in advance who the consultant would be before I got to the slide, but I do have a slide in there on how to go in to pick what the consultant is. You're going to give the borrower the list of consultants and they are going to pick their consultant. And it has to come from the FHA website that I have on this slide. Okay, Sergio, good question. The benefit of using the limited compared to the full, even if it's less than $35,000, is the difference in what type of repairs you can do. So just keep in mind, limited is for minor repairs. You are not going to be doing structural repairs or anything really big. It's for maybe some carpeting, some tile, a new dishwasher, things like that.
Is there a pricing difference by selecting the limited? Because I'm assuming if you select the regular, it includes everything that's in the limited, correct?
I'm sure there is a pricing difference. I'm not sure if there's a pricing difference. I think it's possible that we just have a hit, but I definitely am not the one to ask on the pricing. But what I can do is take a note and have that answer placed in the chat once we're done here.
Okay.
Okay, you know what, Roland? I'm gonna need to look at the guidelines. I don't remember if we're allowed to do the EEM, but I have in the past. So I will double check that and put the answer in the chat for you. Okay, so good question, Marshall. Marshall's asking if we have if we only have the 203K or if we have Homestyle. Homestyle's on deck. So we're actually going to be releasing that next. And I'm not going to give an ETA yet because we're just starting to work on the program. Okay, I have another question about approved contractors for 203K. We don't have a list of approved contractors, and neither does FHA. Your borrowers can use the contractors that they know, or reference, maybe somebody refers a contractor to them. I would always suggest that your borrowers interview a couple of contractors before they decide on one, unless they know somebody personally that they want to use. Again, I would also, being as involved as I've been in renovation loans, they can ruin relationships between contractors and borrowers. So, you know, I would just recommend that they definitely interview a few. Let's see. The contractors do not, well, the contractors, so there's a toolkit, like I mentioned, that we're gonna have on the, let me stop sharing my screen and I'll pull up the websites for you real quick. But there's a toolkit that we have on the website, and it's going to, it's gonna have a packet for the contractor to fill out, and then the contractor, then we will get, the underwriter will review for the contractor. Now, unless the contractor's like on some sort of list of LDP and GSA or something that we can't, it's not letting me share my screen. Hold on one second. That we can't, use them, then we wouldn't have them approved. So if you have one that you're concerned about, I would definitely go ahead and reach out and we can look at it in advance. But I haven't really seen a contractor not quote unquote be approved. So when you go to, I'm going to show Mission Loans and then I'm going to show Residential Bancorp. So anyone on Mission Loans is aware of where to come for the guidelines, but I'm going to go ahead and go through it again. You're going to come to this home screen, which should be set up as your home page when you open up your intranet. Click on Training and Guidelines. Take me to Retail Guidelines. And then you're going to have the list of the programs. So renovation 203K, once we do home style, this is all going to be under renovation. So right now we have our 203K training that I just did, the limited and the standard guidelines, and now we have the forms. So you have your contractor toolkit. I'm going to open it up to show you. And it's going to have all the things that we need from the contractor in order to fill out so that we can, you know, just make sure that we have a good contractor, okay? Residential Bancorp. Same thing, when you go to our intranet, go to retail. Here under guidelines, go to FHA 203K, and all the same stuff is right here for you, okay? Let me get back here, stop sharing, go back to the questions. That was a good question. I've done a lot of 203Ks. I usually use specific consultant. Will we be allowed to continue to use my preferred consultant? Okay, as long as your consultant is an FHA approved consultant, then yes, we can use them as long as they're on the FHA approved consultant list. We don't get to pick the consultants other than what is on FHA's approved list. So Roland, as long as your guy is on the FHA approved list and your borrower is willing to work with them, remember the borrower gets to pick, then yes, you absolutely can. Can you do 203K in conjunction with a DSCR or non-QM? No, these are FHA loans. 203Ks are FHA loans and FHA loans are QM loans.
Sean, I think there's one question from Sherilyn, which is a good question. What if the borrower is a licensed contractor? Can they perform the work and pay themselves?
No, we are not allowing self-help. So that when I went through the screens and I said self-help is not allowed, that is in conjunction with any borrower who's already a contractor or wants to do the work themselves.
Okay, thanks.
That's a good question, Sherilyn. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get back to you guys on the EEM part of it. I can actually probably just peek real quick. I just don't remember if we put in the guidelines about the EEM, and if it's not available right now, it's definitely something that we can look into adding at some point, especially with these days and everybody wanting to have solar and all that good stuff. And then I will get that answer into this chat for you guys. Okay.
And everyone, just so that you know, this is being recorded. So as long as you attend and you're here, you'll have access to this. Once the recording is available, just go back to the chat and you can pull up and just read listen to it. I think Michelle did a great job. No one usually alludes or avoid taking the role of having to explain the 203K. I wouldn't have done it. But,
Well,
thanks, Michelle.
it's fun to do. Okay, so currently we do show energy efficient is ineligible. So I'll just have that. We'll just look into that for a future. But as of right now, no, the answer would not be for AEM. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody. If there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys back. Well, actually, I took an additional 2 minutes of your day, so I apologize for that. But it's been nice seeing everybody, and let's get some of these originated.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
Thank you,
day.
Michelle. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good job.
Bye.
Bye.